Hey, how about you, everybody? Welcome into the Monday edition of the Inside the 20 with myself and Keith Niebuhr. We're going to do our best to get as much recruiting intel to you with inside the 20-minute mark. I am joined this morning by Keith Niebuhr. How you doing, Keith?
I'm good. What's going on, man?
I tell you, big weekend this past weekend. Another five-star weekend for Auburn. But before we get to all the recruiting stuff from this past weekend, we want to give a big how about you to Caleb Schofield, Mike Patton in LaGrange, Georgia. Guys, if you're looking for a new or used car, give Caleb a call. He will help you out. Keith can attest to this. They offer a free lifetime powertrain warranty, unlimited time, unlimited mileage, no deductible if you service with them, only $100 deductible anywhere else in the country, no catches. They'll even deliver it to you, folks. They've got a huge lot of used automobiles. They sell new Ford, Lincoln, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, and Honda. Free 3-month, 3,000-mile warranty. A lot going on there. Keith can personally attest to Caleb. Just purchased a new Bronco there, didn't you, with Caleb?
Yeah, I mean, I've been looking for one for a long time, and I knew I wanted one, Jeff, but I didn't know that I could afford one. I didn't know that I didn't know that I wanted to spend as much money as you see some of the prices for these things out there. But they were able to work with me. I gave them kind of a few things that I needed to have or wanted to have, and quickly they found something. In fact, they already had one on the lot with low mileage. Almost brand new, and it worked out great. And I saved thousands of dollars. I mean, I really did. And that's the car I've been looking for. And I love it. I traded in a Jeep for that car, and the Bronco, it rides like a Cadillac, Jeff. Okay.
Have you already gotten it?
Oh yeah. Yeah. It's great. And it's got it's one of those new colors, cactus gray, which you don't really see on any other car. So they've got all these different colors on the new Bronco. And so they had a cactus gray, and I wasn't sure about it. Looked at some photos and actually saw one pass me by the week before. And I was like, this is really cool looking. And it's just a great car. It's so smooth, and looking forward to driving it up to Auburn this weekend, in fact. And that top will be down. And I don't know, probably have 3 or 4 women in there with me. Who knows, Jeff? I don't know.
With your shirt off. Are you?
That's gonna the shirt's staying on. Okay. The shirt, I've hit the age. The shirt's probably never coming off again.
So y'all give Caleb Schofield a call, man. Good Auburn dude, man. 334-531-0996. 334-531-0996. We appreciate him supporting us. Keith, another 5-star weekend for Auburn. Another subpar opponent, but a top end heavy visitor list. We saw 5-star DB who is committed to Alabama, Tony Mitchell, on campus. We saw Keldrick Fox, the 4-star edge, committed to Florida State on campus. We saw Jelani Thurman, the 4-star tight end, committed to Ohio State on campus. And then you had the 2 official visitors, Jamarian Harkless and 4-star wide receiver Adam Hopkins. So relatively big weekend yet again for Auburn, at least getting these guys on campus. Your takeaways from the weekend, Keith, and the names that we saw.
Yeah, I have to say, Jeffrey, last year it didn't feel like they were getting a whole lot of dudes at games like this, like games like San Jose State and Mercer. And I feel like sometimes some staffs, and I don't know if this was the case at Auburn last year, but I think sometimes they prioritize the big games so much that there can often be an oversight of the lesser opponent games. And they haven't done that this year. And I'm not saying they did that last year, but it's clear they haven't done it this year. And I think they've figured out, and I think some of these recruits have figured out, hey, if I go to one of these other games, if I go to Penn State, there's going to be 200 other kids there. I may not get a lot of time with my position coach, with the Auburn staff, with head coach Brian Harsaw, but if I go to see them play Mercer or San Jose State, I'm going to have all day with these guys. And it's been, I don't think we've seen too many games against lesser opponents like that. I'm not knocking those programs, but they're not Power 5 programs. They're not SEC opponents. But Jeffrey, I don't remember too many games against opponents like those two where we've seen that quality of recruit at Auburn. I mean, it happens from time to time, but it's been pretty impressive. And we tell you when things don't look good, and we tell you when the crowd is pretty weak, and so we're going to tell you when it's pretty good. And it's been pretty damn good the last couple of weeks. And so you have to you have to give credit to the staff for that. But again, also, I think part of it is these kids are realizing, like I said, that they're just going to get more quality time with guys. So it was really impressive. How interested is Tony Mitchell in Auburn? It's hard to say. Before he committed to Alabama, he had released a top 4 or 5, and Auburn was in it, and he had plans to officially visit Auburn this fall. Now, we don't know if those plans are still on or not, but he's still obviously communicating with Auburn. So Auburn's still not afraid to go in there and mix it up with Bama and hope for the best. Keldrick Fox, who's been committed to FSU since, I think, the 4th of July, right around then, an edge defensive end. I think he's now probably being more looked at, Jeffrey, as a defensive end. And FSU, we know, feels really good about keeping him in the class, but he wasn't expected to go to the game the other day. He showed up with his, I believe, his mother and his brother, who's a young prospect as well, 2025 recruit. And so that was a pleasant surprise. And again, let me put it this way, Jeffrey, a couple of weeks ago, I wrote that he was probably or considering a visit to Auburn. And I know I was told by some people on the other side of that recruitment that they didn't think that FSU didn't think he was going to visit anywhere at all. So the fact that he did show up the other day at Auburn has to be that's an eye opener and maybe a little concerning for FSU. But no, all in all, I think you got to be impressed with the quality of the prospects that have been to Auburn the first 2 weeks of the season. Again, they're not playing anybody that's a real marquee opponent. I had one kid, Malik Blockton, Jeffrey, of Pike Road, Alabama. He's a 2024 defensive lineman offered by Auburn. And he said, why would I want to go to a blowout? So fans thought, okay, God, that last game must have just been awful for recruits, the San Jose State game. He said it was the opposite. He said, I don't care whether they're blowing people out or not. I want to see a good game. I want to see a close, competitive game. And, obviously, as a fan, you don't want to see Auburn struggle against San Jose State. But if you're thinking all the recruits left disappointed, not always. They like to see a little drama if they're going to drive all the way over there and make the effort. So I think it was we haven't talked to every recruit, but the recruits we've talked to didn't have any complaints. They didn't have any complaints. They're just there to watch football. They're not as invested in it as fans are. A lifelong Auburn fan who's, eternally non-optimistic after a game like that, Jeff. And they're not like that. They're just there to enjoy the day and see maybe a competitive game. And that's what a lot of them did. And a lot of them got.
I was surprised. Jamarian Harkless, who was there on an official visit, he was one of 2 official visits with Adam Hopkins. But when he left, he said it was by far the best game he's ever been to. Now, I don't know what the collection of games that he's comparing this to, but I think he was more talking about the atmosphere, and he was right there on the front row of the south end zone, right next to the student section. And he was like, I couldn't even hear myself. Now, that's what I love. I loved it. So the atmosphere, I think, was something that, it doesn't matter who it is, if it's a close game. And it was a 1-score game throughout pretty much the entire game. So there was a lot to cheer from. There's a brief rain shower that might have scared some of these guys on out. I know I didn't see Tony Mitchell or Keldrick by the end of the game. It doesn't mean they didn't stay. It's just I didn't see them. I did see Terrence Love. I did talk to Terrence Love. I did talk to Terrence Love about Jelani Thurman and how he is working hard on Jelani Thurman, and that he thinks Auburn still has a really good shot to flip Jelani Thurman. He said, because it was really easy to get him to come with me. He didn't have to beg or plead or anything with him to get Jelani to come to Auburn. They watched what Auburn did with the tight ends, which we've known since Harsin has come in. The John Samuel Schinker set the school record last year with receptions by a tight end, and I think receiving yards as well. And they saw a lot of action Saturday night, the tight ends did. So Terrence said that he's coming back next weekend. Terrence will be here for an official visit, and Jelani's coming with him. Also coming is 4-star offensive tackle Bo Hughley, who's committed to Georgia. Joshua Horton, the defensive tackle, who's committed to North Carolina. 2024 quarterback, 4-star quarterback Aaron Nolan is coming. So all those Langston Hughes guys are coming back next weekend. And Jay-Head and myself and Keith, I think you're in the same boat with us. It's almost with the Langston Hughes guys, it's we don't really know what legitimate interest in Auburn is. It's got to be somewhat legitimate if they keep coming back. But I'm almost to a a Missouri with those guys. I'm not convinced. You?
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it honestly, the recruitments, there's been so many updates on those guys from a range of sites. And one week people feel great, and the next week they don't, and it's exhausting. I mean, honestly, a few
Yeah,
weeks
it is. And that's what it is.
yeah, a few weeks ago, I was thinking, man, I don't know if I was Auburn, I may just pull the plug on all these guys. Is it worth the effort? But that's kind of the stupid way to look at it. I'll admit that. And so, look, if you like the guys and you put a lot of time into them, and Auburn likes them, and they put a lot of time into them, you're going to keep recruiting them. You're going to see how it shakes out. And they clearly don't think they're bad kids. Otherwise, they would have stopped recruiting them all the way because of I don't want to say drama, but the twists and turns, the weekly twists and turns. I mean, Terrence Love's a 4-star safety. He committed to Auburn in April. We visited for Big Cat Weekend in July and left saying all the right things. But then, just a few days later was telling our South Carolina site that, hey, I'm liking South Carolina a lot now, and I don't know what to think about Auburn. And now he's back at Auburn, and he's happy, and he's bringing his teammates. And, I mean, it's just like a week-to-week roller coaster ride. But that gives you a window into the life of what it's like to recruit guys. I mean, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and I think at this point, Auburn is so invested in these guys that you can't give up. I mean, you just got to keep pushing. If you lose, you lose, but you cannot. You've invested too much time.
And we know Aaron Nolan, the 2024 quarterback at Langston Hughes, who, by the way, they didn't play the other night, but through 3 games has already thrown for a bunch of yards. And I think he's had, I want to say 4 straight 3 TD passing games. So he's a promising young quarterback. We know he was very close to committing to Auburn back in July. And Auburn, Adrian Posse committed, and the quarterback out of Miami in the 2024 class, and Nolan didn't. But Auburn's still recruiting him, which leads us to believe that they're going to take 2 in 2024. And to me, that's the guy of all the guys that I just like him the best. He's got such a good head on his shoulders, and not to say the other ones don't, but Jelani Thurman's a different kind of kid. I mean, I know on at least one recruiting trip, he dressed up as Batman. Or Spider-Man, excuse me. He's an interesting kid, but an athletic freak and a nice young guy too. And Bo Hughley, what is he going to commit? Is he going to flip from Georgia, the big offensive tackle? And Jeffrey, both sides seem to think that he's being incredibly honest with them,
right?
And setting the other side up, and you know what I mean. And so he's clearly. Somebody's not getting told 100% the truth on that, which leads me to believe maybe he is generally conflicted, and he's been pleasant to deal with. He's not.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah.
And obviously, what a ball, what a piece of clay he is. I mean, that's the SEC frame you really want on a tackle. But again, I'm like with you. That was a long-winded answer to get to. Yes, I agree with you, Jeffrey. I don't know what to think. I just don't know what to think. I feel like they're still in it with these guys. But I don't know that for a fact. I don't know how much. But I guess as long as they keep visiting, you got a shot.
Sure, absolutely. Keep getting them on campus like Auburn presumably will this weekend. You never know what's going to happen. Turning to the OVs, Keith, we've got Adam Hopkins who's announcing Thursday. Auburn appears to be in a very good spot with him, and Harkless, of course, left saying Auburn's my front runner, and it's going to be tough to beat. So Auburn potentially could be picking up 2 commitments. We're expecting Adam Hopkins on Thursday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern time. So that's 8 a.m. Central time. That's Auburn time. Adam Hopkins, 4-star wide receiver from Georgia. Harkless said he could have it in a couple of weeks. We'll see how that shakes out. I know he was very impressive physically. I think that's what Auburn wanted to get some eyes on him this weekend. Hadn't seen him in person yet. And he was, I think he was 6'2.5", 6'3", 330, maybe 330 plus. I think it was 333. So curious to see what happens there with Jamari and Harkless. Keith, I think important news last night, Sunday night, was Auburn offering 2 new offensive line guys, Paul Mubenga, the LSU commitment from Beaufort, Georgia, and talk to me about, is it Blackfoot?
Yeah, let me I got to look this up myself. It's Keyshawn Blackstock.
That's what I said.
Blackstock, great name, who's a sophomore offensive lineman at Coffeyville Community College in Kansas. Now, the first guy you mentioned, Paul Mubenga of Beaufort, Georgia, and he committed to LSU in July, but he told me there's a good chance he's going to be at Auburn this weekend, and I think you've been told he's definitely going to be in Auburn this weekend. So that's significant. He was going to be at Auburn a couple of weeks ago, couldn't make it.
He was
but
planning to.
Yes, and he was there in the spring and was able to spend a good amount of time with offensive line coach Will Friend. They've developed a pretty good relationship. So he's keeping his options open, Jeffrey. He's got one more official visit with Auburn, Miami, and one other school. Auburn, Miami, and South Carolina vying for that final spot. So Auburn's hanging around there. Keyshawn Blackstock is actually from Covington, Georgia's Newton High School, which is about 30 minutes east of Atlanta. Grew up an Auburn fan. Tells me his dad has a tattoo of Cam Newton on his back. I love that. And his dad's already emailed me this morning. And he said, hey, look, when I told my dad that I got that offer from Auburn, he was crying on the phone. That's how much his dad loves Auburn. His dad's actually become pretty good friends with former Auburn defensive lineman Gabe Wright. And so Blackstock's been able to talk to Gabe Wright a lot. He also was very close with Dre Butler, former Auburn player who went to Newton High School as well. And the bonus, Jeffrey, he's friends with Sean Tompkins, the Baylor commit, who's a Baylor offensive line commit who attends Newton High School right now that Auburn has offered recently and is trying to work on. And he's probably going to visit Auburn at some time in the near future. So this guy, now he plays games on Saturdays. He says, hey, I'm officially visiting Auburn. Absolutely. But it's going to have to be in December. So that'll be one that Auburn will have to ride out a little bit. That's okay because obviously the more JUCO offensive linemen you're recruiting, the more high school offensive linemen you may scare away. So you want to get those guys on board first, the high school guys, and then do your work with the JUCO guys quietly as to not frighten any of the high school guys. But it seems like they're in it with both those guys. But to me, Blackstock absolutely would be a guy to watch. In fact, Illinois is going to visit him today. He's also talking to Colorado, and Missouri offered Sunday, and now Florida could be very close to offering. So that's a guy you've got some inroads with, and now all the big boys are discovering him. So to me,
is he a mid-year guy?
He oh gosh, let me think about this. Yes,
I think you told me
he will be. Yes, he graduates in December. He's got 3 years to play 2 seasons. I think you said this, and he wasn't sure. Somebody wrote this. I think Auburn's looking at him as a tackle, but he says, hey, they're telling me tackle, guard, I could play anywhere. And you're seeing that a lot with some of these guys. Janoris Wilson, who I'm going to go visit this week in Florida, Lakeland High School. They're telling him basically tackle or guard as well. So there'll be some cross training and putting guys in the best spots once they get there, if they get there.
The word I've heard most is calling these guys swing guys. Swing guys, you can play inside, you can play outside, basically anywhere but center is what they're recruiting most of these guys we've seen. We know Auburn's going to go heavy high school offensive line class, but we know that Auburn's going to have a couple of JUCOs, probably going to have a couple of transfers in there. So going to go at all 3 levels for that offensive line.
class. Jeffrey, it is going to be an entirely new look O-line next year. Mm-hmm. There'll be a couple guys back, a few guys, but the 2 deep, there's going to be a lot of new faces,
a lot of new names.
We don't have any choice. Again, it's been just a desert of I don't know what the word I'm looking for. They haven't really hit a home run on the recruiting trail at offensive line since 2017, and it's caught up to Auburn now. And so this is the highest turnover year on the O-line I think I've ever seen. And so you obviously got to build for the future. Those are the high school guys. Build for the now, which are the JUCO and the transfers. You got to do both at once. You can't just do one and not the other. You don't want 2 or 3 high school guys starting out there next year. You get your brains bashed in. So they got a lot of next few months are going to be real interesting, and then the portal season as well.
Yep, gonna have a lot of news and shake coming from the offensive line recruiting. We're definitely going to be keeping an eye on that. Auburn is going to host Penn State this Saturday. We're expecting a large group of visitors. As I mentioned, Terrence Love's coming back with his Langston Hughes guys. Janoris Wilson's coming in for an official visit. Wilkie Nanod's coming in for an official visit. So there's going to be probably 5 to maybe 6 to 8 official visitors this weekend. I'm expecting a lot of these guys, a lot of these 4- and 5-star recruits that have been here and haven't been here this season to definitely come in. There's going to be a loaded Penn State visitor list. We're going to be tracking that all week on Auburn Live on 3. We're going to start our running list of visitors. We're going to have updates all week long, and we'll have a good detailed look at the visitors come Friday. Hey, we appreciate everybody listening. We appreciate everybody subscribing. If you're not a subscriber, please look at Auburn Live on 3. It's free for a week. This is a fantastic opportunity to get it because we're going to have news all week long. This is a great week to take advantage of it. And also, Go to our YouTube page. You might already be on it. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit that notifications so that you get notifications. This is all free content. We're posting daily updates, daily videos to keep you up to date on your Auburn Tigers and its recruiting. We appreciate everybody. Thank you so much. Keep a lookout the rest of this week for recruiting shows. Keith and I will be back Wednesday for another Inside the 20. Be on the lookout for that. Thanks again for listening. For Keith Niebuhr, for Zach in the back, I'm Jeffrey Lee. See you.